What does Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 hide from you behind the scenes in Reanimation and the prototype boss fight? So as we finally reach Reanimation and Playtime Co., we can see where the horrors are brought to life. Soon after, we have a showdown with the prototype. But how does all this work behind the scenes? Like seeing where the prototype comes from off camera, and how the train showdown really works. We've got lots to explore. So I hope you enjoy today's out-of-bounds look at Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. As always, I'll hit you with very brief recaps and then circle back around to break those sections. Now that we've finished off Lily, we have finally reached the Reanimation Labs. As we come around this corner, Giblet pops out the vent and eventually leads us to a sad cutscene with Kissy and Poppy. We then smash open a vent, grab a very easy to miss tape, and then enter a series of hallways in an area called Proliferation. You can skip most of this next part, but if you want a collectible, you'll move this lever, turn some wheels in this maze-like area, and then continue on after grabbing your plush. The prototype can be seen if you do this too. Next up, we'll make our way into this room where we can grab a Le Mans trophy and search for various numbers to give us a code to move forward. We then solve an electrical puzzle. We'll pause the recap there. First and foremost, this area we are in is a new map. So if we zoom out, we'll only see the immediate places around us as we had just gone through a loading zone. If we fly around though, we'll find Kissy Missy walking in place in the room up ahead. She's looking a bit rough. And underneath this repeating walk cycle, we can find Broken Poppy walking inside a frozen Giblet. These are all stored inside the cutscene room we'll be in later. Now, as we make our way to this, a sealed room off to the left has a bunch of boxes falling in it. We can see that nothing actually moves these boxes, and they simply fall. I think we're supposed to believe Giblet moved them while entering the vent. If we go into this room by hacking, we can see that the boxes have some crazy physics if we try to walk over them. We are free to explore this off-limits room, as there aren't any other barriers blocking us from doing so. And we can see that the vent inside leads to nowhere. Up ahead, Giblet will just spawn into this floor vent and come out to start the cutscene. We can see he uses magic to open the vent in front of him. If we go and check the room out, Kissy and Poppy will already be sitting on the floor. We can get a good look at them in this state to see just how badly damaged Poppy really is. Rewinding slightly, we'll see that Giblet will slide across the room once we hit the cutscene trigger. A moment later, he'll warp into the vent as Poppy and Kissy snap to the next poses. Anyway, here's an eye-level view of this cutscene from a slightly different perspective. You can really appreciate just how much effort went into the animations for these short moments. Of course, if we skip the cutscene trigger, we can enter this room early, but none of the characters can be interacted with. Downstairs, we can find an Altimal that will run around a corner, and following it shows that it just vanishes. What's kind of funny is that later on, there is another Altimal we can encounter, who also runs and vanishes, and we don't even need a camera hack to see this. If we just run at the Altimal and turn the corner, we'll see it unload. Whoops. We can see that the plush is stored back here inside the liquid like this. But now let's look at the prototype. So the prototype's arm gets pulled around this corner like so. But what you normally can't see is that the arm is stretched and the prototype's body is standing in a T-pose inside this wall. As the arm comes inward, the prototype then vanishes. But his face was essentially behind the slash mark in the wall. As we move to the lower level, we can take a look out of bounds to find something left behind. So this proliferation sign downstairs has old developer text behind it that says Applied Sciences, probably indicating that's what this area used to be called. I checked out a few more areas out of bounds in this section, but didn't find anything else out there. There is one of those hidden hand scanners though, so there's that. And if you got all the secret hand scanners, you'd get a dancing Pianosaurus as a reward. So that's a thing. Bro lives! Inside the room where we need the code, we can see the liquid in this container is a textured cylinder that slides up and then down out of the bottom of the machine like a post-apocalyptic push pop. Nice! The hallways above the electrical puzzle don't have anything in them beyond what you can see, in case you were curious, and the door leads to the void. Let's press on now. So we are now in the Grand Stitchery area. We need to find the code 231 hidden on the wall, and then punch it in to access a staircase downward. This leads to a quick hot and cold puzzle, where we freeze and break this, and then burn the chain on a door. We find ourselves a battery, and use it to open the Grand Stitchery. Now this room was like a giant game of Bop It, where you must ultimately open 4 locks to pass through. So you'll pull out batteries, hop around doing an electrical puzzle, and more, until you eventually light up all the door panels and can exit. In the next area, we can grab a doll, and also a battery that we need to open this door over here. This hallway hits us with a loading screen, and as we step outward, we're going to get high-fived in the face by Huggy as it kicks off another chase. We need to run like usual and open this hand scanner to unlock this door. Inside, we'll swap this battery's location to open this next door as Huggy breaks through to chase us. We'll embrace the pain or pull ourselves over this sludge as Huggy closes in, eventually catching us. Kissy Missy saves the day though, and Huggy and Kissy show a touching moment. Of course, this is only temporary. As Huggy gets anime backstabbed, the prototype then stabs Kissy as well, before chasing us into a nearby train. We'll pause all this for now and rewind. So back in the Stitchery area, we can spot another wrong side Altimal. And then after we make our way down the staircase, we can find a shadow of one running along the wall. It will run around this bend and then stop. In the same area, we can catch a glimpse of the prototype popping up in the Stitchery window. He very quickly pulls out a frame normally, so we can see that he goes over here. He then eventually unloads. The Stitchery itself doesn't have a lot going on, but we could take a look at the Altimals under the stitching hands from a different perspective. You can see all the fleshy tissue inside their fabric casing. Other than the hands at work, there isn't much else to see here. When we hit the loading zone in this hallway, you can see how everything will swap out. We actually get warped upwards as the new map loads above us. Well, we would, if I didn't accidentally fall out of bounds. When this area loads in, we can find an emissive material underground, and when we fly up to it, we'll realize it's moving a bit. Turns out it's the prototype, and he's standing here in its idle pose. He looks extra creepy floating out here in the dark, and this model will be used later, right before we start the train chase. Now, what is interesting is that there is a wrong material assigned to the back of the prototype here. At least there was for me. This jawbreaker-looking pile of shredded paper is supposed to be Catnap's purple fur, but because the incorrect material does not have alpha channels, you get jagged edges where the fur would normally taper off. But let's go back topside for Huggy's chase. So if we start the chase, but remove ourselves from the chase area, Huggy will still run ahead, but we can explore the rest of this hallway. The hallway will curve around to the right as we walk down it, and we eventually come to a set of double doors. If we look out through the windows on them, we can see outside the level. Unfortunately, both set of doors down here do not open, and neither does the set right next to the window that breaks. When we walk in front of the window normally, Huggy will load in up above like this, as he then rotates downward and reaches through to hit the player. He then vanishes for a second, then spawns in T-posing, before warping back into the hallway. They reuse the hurtling animation from earlier in the game for this part as he leaps in, and then screams at us. And if the game is slowed, he'll do the animation twice. That's my fault. Whoops! At this point, I noticed something else out of bounds, and it was Giblet standing idle on a platform. I imagine this is here for the ending of the game, so we'll come back to it later. Anyways, in the middle of the first room of the Huggy chase, he'll run over to here and knock over this shelf. We can then watch this in slow motion as he will do the animation and scream. And then he will just repeat the swinging animation forever. This happens because the game will automatically kill the player if they aren't under the shelf by this point, but are in the pocket before it, so you never see this. There is a safe spot in the chase though, and it's under this shelf in the middle of it. The game doesn't want you to stop moving, but it knows if it tries to jump scare you under the shelf, the result is gonna probably look pretty glitchy. So Huggy will just keep swinging his arms repeatedly until we move some. And when we do move a bit, he'll stop and walk over behind these containers and just wait for us to leave the crouch space under the shelf. So he just stands here like a goof. Then, as we move forward, he'll snap to his next animation as he sends them flying. The chase then continues. When we shut the door after grabbing the battery, Huggy will just run in place here until we move on with the chase. However, if we wait in this room too long, he'll actually break through the door and kill us, and then continue running. Speaking of which, if we just keep following him after this point, we will see that he eventually will reach the end of his movement path and will just stand in the pink goop. This is because the player would have already triggered the cutscene. And for that cutscene, Huggy will snap behind the player with his arm outstretched and then slide through the wall. Here we can see Huggy shriek at us as Kissy stares him down. The Huggy and Kissy bonding part of this cutscene isn't really too interesting behind the scenes, given it's already slow and super slow in bullet time. But the next part is, we can see the prototype load in with his hand already piercing Huggy. He then rotates downwards, lifts Huggy into the air, and then throws Huggy against the wall. Kissy then charges him, and he drops her with a slash of his hand. He then stabs Kissy as well. Mommy Longleg's arm comes out to try to shove us onto the track, but it looks weird because I think it's trying to follow the active camera. The prototype's Kissy arm randomly disconnects too. It almost looks like it's trying to attach to Kissy again before unloading. So now it's time for this train chase. So we run to the train and get inside as fast as possible. And suddenly the prototype will begin stabbing at us through the windows. Soon after, he'll do the ceiling as well. We then pop out of the first train section and grab 2 levers to disconnect the part we just left. This buys us time as we drag over a large battery and plug it in to give the prototype an electric shock. We hand scan our way into the next area, which will need to freeze and shatter this goo. We pull ourselves across some goo, freeze it, and after shattering it, we can use a lever to release a ton of explosive barrels onto the prototype. We hop across a burning area and then make our way into the next interior. This area is more so the same as the first rail car, just don't get baited into getting stabbed. Now we grab a wheel, struggle to figure out where the heck it goes, and then eventually light up this power supply. When we step out, we freeze the prototype in place as we jump off the train right before it crashes. As we come to, there is a brief moment where the prototype seems defeated. But nope, JK LOL. He rolls up on us and stabs our character, as he then catnap drops us into a vat of questionable origins. Giblet comes to our rescue, and then we eventually enter a data storage area. We pull 2 levers, and suddenly the outcome in Chapter 4 doesn't matter anymore, as the Doctor rises from the grave. Let's rewind now and break this all down. So first off, let's check on Huggy and Kissy. Normally, you can't get back over here, but that's never stopped me before. Both of them are in pretty bad shape, and we can't interact with them. Eventually, we'll get auto-killed by the prototype though. When we make it into the train, we can see the prototype do an inversion and land on top, where he sticks a perfect landing before unloading. While out here, we can take a look at this looping train tunnel. The background is moving, but the objects where we came from aren't. You normally don't see these, but we will in a bit. If we move back outside the train, we can see that the moving ground doesn't affect us because it's an optical illusion. The prototype can still get us out here though. Back in the train, if we look out the first window to the left, you can see those objects that should be moving but aren't. A similar set of objects on the other wall are moving though. So the legs that kick into the side windows will just spawn in, and they aren't attached to the full model up top. We can also see that the prototype we saw earlier in this area is the holding spot for the one that ends up on the train. As the prototype stabs the ceiling, it's more copies of legs that appear and just poke through like so. Moving on, when we step outside to disconnect the rail car, the prototype will just slide into position. We can watch this bad boy jump and Usain Bolt it down the tunnel after we disconnect the previous section. As we get jump scared, the copy on the wall will default to a T-pose as he just glides in excellence. His jump scare will follow our camera like others, as he just won't let up. I didn't see a shock animation, but we can take a close-up look at the zap effect in slow motion as he sparkles. Before we progress, we can take another look at what the train tunnel now looks like as future parts of the train are loading in. In this next train car, there is a golden prototype trophy you can grab back here, so just a heads up. We also have these bags blocking our way that the prototype can burst through the window and pull out, so here's where they end up. They will fall through the floor and then just float under the side of the tunnel. As we step out into the next section, we'll be able to watch the train slide backwards as the prototype loads in. We can follow the train car further and see it eventually gets warped out of bounds. Back up on the moving train, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you can freeze the ground before the prototype jumps, and then after he jumps, he will just immediately get frozen, even though you don't. Now, I was pretty excited to see the explosive barrels off camera, so let's check it out in slow motion. As we pull the lever, the barrels begin to roll back and bounce, and then they start exploding one by one. We can see how they just vanish behind the explosion, and then the model is swapped for the prototype as he catches on fire. A burning boy with hops is definitely nightmare fuel. Speaking of a burning boy with hops, I'm moon jumping to make sure I'm not one. The next train car has us going topside, and so just to check, I took the camera down below to see if there was anything in the bottom, and there wasn't. After entering the next interior section, the prototype just gives up chasing us on the walls and will return to his idle standing animation. There's just something way more creepier about this shot here. as he's hanging out above the burning train behind us. Speaking of which, the only thing left over from the previous section is this ominous door. Spooky! Now, there's nothing too interesting until we jump from the train, so we'll hop to that part. Literally. When this door opens, we can see the prototype is just kind of waiting for us to kill him. We can just sit here, and it won't move at all, which is kind of funny. Unfortunately, we can't use the ice hand toggle until we step outside though. Once we've frozen the edgy lad, the train just slides forward and stops as an explosion occurs. And the prototype just stays frozen over here like this. However, see those small explosions? Those are from where we got teleported to. The second we hit the ground, we get moved to a duplicate environment, where Poppy and Giblet are watching the train crash. We see the prototype will rise from the rubble with a few minor scratches, as he then descends from the wreckage and chases our trio. Back in the wreckage though, there's a second copy of the prototype sitting in a T-pose just out of sight. Giblet just kind of warps behind these boxes real fast, and we can see that the prototype will just load in behind where the player is as they give them a free acupuncture session. Poppy just kind of sinks into the ground? YOLO, I guess. We can now watch our character go for a cold dip in this vat of bubblegum as we get dropped in. The prototype then unloads. So I'm going to pause it here for a second to focus on this area. So these big vats you see right here are actually not the same models for the ones we jumped out towards. This is what those ones look like. There's a lot more of them, and they are not as big. I'm not sure why they didn't make these consistent, but I guess you probably only see these for maybe a frame or two, so perhaps that's why. Anyways, back by the train wreck, you usually can't reach this area, but I wanted to check it out. The whole train wreck has collision, and we are able to climb it like so. The fire over here doesn't hurt us either. Eventually we can work our way down through the rubble and find the back of the train. After we lower down, we can go in the back of the train and find the T-posing prototype. He doesn't have a collider on his model, so we can walk right through him, and the train car lacks an interior as well, and is completely see-through. There's not much else here, but we can see the previous train tunnel in the distance, so let's go over there. Over here we can see the data center doors do not open, and that the train is now completely gone. Only the pink goo remains. Those same smaller barrels can be found over here, like previously described, and we are free to explore this tunnel. So I ran down it. It's quite a long run, and we have to jump over small gaps as we eventually get near the train car. For some reason, touching this train car in the back warps you out farther into the tunnel, which is peculiar. It's repeatable, and I'm unsure why. We can see it's empty inside as we run by the windows though. If we try running farther down the tunnel past it, an invisible prototype will snatch us up and kill us. We just got jump scared by a ghost, folks. Anyways, once we emerge from our cold plunge, we can see Giblet appears right here to shock us back to life. His shock therapy works wonders on our invisible, tense muscles. We can fly around him as he monologues to us, and eventually we'll get up. As we make our way into the data center, there isn't too much to see. There's an inaccessible scaffolding area above us that is a bit of a maze, and down below there's a paper to collect. But that's it. We can get a good old close-up of the doctor though. But with that, that brings us to the end of Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. I hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes journey. Subscribe if you did, and I'll see you all again real soon. Cheers!